Hello and thanks for clicking on this video. Uh, I'm making this short video and it probably will be short specifically because while I was watching The Impossible Heir, I did so much complaining about how broken up the timeline was, how they kept on skipping time, and how that made me feel completely pushed out and disconnected from the story, like they didn't even want me to be a part of it, which is not what you're supposed to do to the audience. You're supposed to make them feel included, and they made me feel very, very, very disconnected until like halfway through the drama. Um, but not long after I watched that one, I watched this drama called Tell No One. It's a Chinese drama. It's only 12 episodes long. It was put out by the company Aichi. You know what's funny tangent? Maybe I shouldn't because of whatever, but I'm gonna anyway. This is one producer I've actually seen several things that she produced, and I don't know how I managed to go this long without reading the bio. Actually, I don't usually click on producers and directors, but lately I have been more. But there's this one lady, it took me forever before I actually before I actually read the bio on her thing and found out that she's like the um CEO or whatever it is of Aichi. I'm like, well, no wonder I keep saying her everywhere because I'm on Aichi, so I've seen like tons of dramas that they are the ones that have produced. And then there's another guy that I've actually seen several things that he produced, and it turns out he is the CEO of Aichi. I'm like, dude, how did I not know this sooner? How did I not know it sooner? But anyway, that was a total tangent that was completely off. Tell No One. This drama was produced by Aichi. It was released May of this year. And I'm like, okay, because I did so much complaining about Impossible Heir, I want to explain what the beginning of this drama did and why this drama is so entirely different, even though it does a ton of skipping back and forth too. The difference being, Impossible Heir started, and I think it was like an entire episode or an entire 2 episodes that it had in the past. It showed you something, and then it skipped an unspecified amount of time and showed you a bunch more, and then it skipped 5 years and showed you very little bit, and then it skipped 5 years and showed you very tiny little bit with a sudden back story of a year ago, tiny little bit. And then it kept like randomly just going back by a couple of days or a couple of hours to show you stuff. And once it stopped doing that so often, it was much better. But like, because it kept like jumping and like missing out on relationship and character building, it completely missed out on those things because it kept on skipping the times when you should have been seeing that. It just completely skipped it and went ahead with whatever. This story, within 6 minutes and 55 seconds of the first episode, what did they do within 6 minutes and 55 seconds? Not even quite a full 7 minutes. Almost 7 minutes. Not quite. 6 minutes and 55 seconds. What did these guys do? They showed you a clip, one specific event. One event. Then they skipped an unspecified amount of time, but they told you not only the year, they also told you the month and date of what they skipped to. And the way they connected it, the guy is waking up. So it looks like he's remembering this event or dreaming of this event. That's the effect it makes you feel. You're already connecting these. For some stupid reason, I didn't realize it was the same guy. This is not the first thing I've seen this guy on. Now I can't remember what else I've seen him on. I'll put it up somewhere. It connects it by making it like him wake up, so it makes it look like this is like a memory or like whatever. But like when he wakes up, somebody has called him, but like who is it? What's going on? So it backs up by 2 hours. It tells you we're backing up by 2 hours. But then, instead of skipping forward again, it follows from 2 hours ago and shows you the important events by what's happening that led you up to 6 minutes and 55 seconds. We're back to where we were when he woke up after that one event back then. So we had an event. It skipped forward by we don't know how long yet, because later on it tells you how long they skipped. And then we backed up by 2 hours and continued the flow. There was no more skipping there. And then we continue this flow, and we're in the current timeline. What they've done differently, like Impossible Heir, it's like they dropped a bunch of random ice chunks on you, and you're like trying to like dodge falling bricks or something like that. Whereas this drama, Tell No One, they literally strung up a clothesline, and then they hung stuff off of it. Because throughout this entire drama, they keep going back to the past. However, it's not just going back to the past and like showing you a bunch of stuff and having these two disconnected stories where you keep like you following this and then you see this and then you see this, and it's like flashbacks of memories, or like one drama, I can't remember which one it was, but it was interesting at first the way they did it, because there was a case back here and now they're basically handling the same case here because it didn't get wrapped up here. But the problem was they carried that on for way too long, so that everything was happening back here and nothing was happening here. It was literally just a repeat in the same order that they did it back here. But because it's exactly the same thing in exactly the same order, they were going nowhere here. Everything was happening back here. It was getting really bad. It was really interesting at first, but it was like really bad. But the way this one does it, it's fascinating how every time they go to the past, I don't know how they did it. Like, I made a music video recently and I said it was like building a puzzle, but I had like a thumbnail picture of what the completed picture was supposed to look like because I only had a very small idea of what I wanted. But it was like I was probably missing pieces, and I also probably had pieces in there that should have belonged in a different puzzle. This drama here is like when I was making that music video, it's like if I stop at all, I have no idea what I'm doing. As I'm going through it, there's like, I know what should come next. It's just this feeling you have, or this knowing you have, like where it's like, okay, this is who I just showed. Now I should show this person. It's been this long since I showed this person. I should show this person now. And you can build this like flow where there's not too much of one person at one time or too little of one person, or you suddenly forget who that is because you haven't seen them for like 3 minutes when the video is 2 minutes and 59 seconds, so you haven't seen them in a full minute. Well, then now who is this? It makes you suddenly like, what the, out of the blue, weirdness. Who was this again? But they're only there for a second and then they're gone, right? It doesn't work. You have to have it like just so that people stay connected and there's this flow to it. This drama somehow did that. It totally feels like an ADHD person that's like juggling, multitasking, like 20 things at once. If you interrupt that at all 20 balls fall over the floor, and it takes you like how long to figure out what was I even doing. I have no idea what I was in the middle of. How do I get this back together again so I can finish what I was doing? I don't know how these people did it. Tell no one. Every time they go to the past, what they do is like, suddenly a question comes up here, and they go to the past to answer that question. Every time they go to the past, there's a very specific reason why they went back at that point, because they're telling you something really important that just came up that you need to know. They don't interrupt the present in order to go to the past, and they only stay in the past as long as they need to stay in the past in order to tell you what's going on right now here. It's so brilliantly done. So well done. This drama, I forget how long it took me to watch it. Perhaps the edit right here so I can find where the heck it was. Where was it? Oh, I started it on the 18th and finished it on the 19th. So I watched it in like 2 days. Like, it sucked me right in and kept me there. It was so well done. Literally the only complaint that I can think of that I really have, I mean, I always get fatigued and tired and sick of seeing bad guys. There's only so much I want to see of those guys, what's necessary to the story, and I think they stayed within that in this drama. I don't think they showed more than they really had to. In a way, I feel like they did. I got really tired of seeing the bad guys. But at the same time, it wasn't like incredibly excessive, and even then, like, it was really interesting with the bad guys, because the bad guys had such a strong, like, I'm not sure how to put it, but it was like, I was slightly annoyed at how much time I had to spend with them. But sometimes it's like they're forcing you to feel sorry for the bad guy or something like that. They're forcing you, they're manipulating you into like feeling sympathy for them, and more than sympathy, where you're like, I don't know, I don't like when they do that. But in this one, I don't think that I was being forced into feeling anything for them. It was like legitimate. You kind of, you understand where they come from. They are definitely bad guys. Basically deserved everything they got in this drama. But at the same time, you understand what brought them there, and you're kind of like, you just left thinking about a lot of stuff. And that is really well done story. That's what stories are supposed to do. They're not supposed to force you to think something or feel something or have an opinion about something or whatever. They're just supposed to make you think. And in this one, the only complaint that I can really think of that I absolutely hated. Okay, men are fine with this. I don't know how many women are fine with this. I'm not fine with it, whether it's a man or a woman. Bathroom scenes. I do not want to watch people going to the toilet. And yet, it's like a given where you can't escape it, where you're going to see men going to the bathroom. You have to see that stance, and you have to hear that sound. I'm like, seriously? I don't care whether you're a man or a woman. I don't want to hear you go to the bathroom. This is really gross. I am really sick and tired of shows doing it. And you know what this one went and flippin' did to me? There's just one character in the past that goes to the bathroom. So, of course, you have to see it the first time around. And then they flash back to this. I think it's something like 6 times you come back to this scene. All 6 times, you have to see the stance and you have to hear the sound. Over and over and over again. I'm like, can y'all come here so I can just like... It's a good thing for you guys the rest of the story was so brilliant, because that's just... How dare you do this to me? Hello, cat. Oh, why? Why did we have to go back to that stupid scene and see it like 6 different times and hear that stupid sound 6 different times? But you know what? That's another actually really... Sit! Yeah. Because you need to get your butt out of the camera's face. And there's hair going everywhere. And technically I'm allergic to cats, even though I own them. So when their hair gets all over here, it's like, oh. Where was I? She completely interrupted me. The scenes that it goes back to. Later in this drama, they actually start flashing back to stuff that I've already seen, and it gets really annoying, and it's like flashing back to current stuff and whatever, and I'm like, would you stop that stupid flashbacks? I hate flashbacks. But for the most part, it was back to stuff that we'd never seen before. It's going to the past and explaining stuff that we've never seen before. This one, this stupid scene that we had to keep going back to because he's going to the bathroom, and I don't want to see somebody going to the bathroom. Are you sorry, cat? I startled her. But the interesting thing about it was that we kept going back to this one scene, but we kept going back to it at different angles because we were going back through different people's eyes. And now you can hear Clickety because my puppy dog is coming in here to say hi because she's all alone, and she's like, why? Why am I out here all alone? Sorry, dog, I'm not coming out there. Can you hear my kitty cat purring? I don't know. This video is now officially extended because my animals are... Sorry, Tori, I can't have you in my lap. Jackie's already up here. What on earth was I trying to say? That scene that they keep going back to, you see it from different angles because you're seeing it through different people's eyes because it's explaining different parts of what happened. So even it was really well done. Even though we kept going back to the same stupid scene, it kept showing slightly different parts of it, or slightly different. There was only one basically like framed in a window scene that you see repeatedly because they're reminding you of where we're going back to. And then they show you different parts of it. And that was one of the things that was really well done. They go back to different times in the past. There's like 2 or 3 different years that they go back to explain 2 or 3 different connections to what's happening in the present. But every time they go to the past, they very specifically tell you what year it is. I can't remember if they tell you the month and everything every time, but they definitely tell you what year it is so that you know exactly where you're going back to. Even though by a certain point you kind of know where you are because of which characters are there and which events are kind of currently happening in the feel of everything, they still specifically tell you exactly what year it is, which is really, really helpful. It stays... You are connected to that clothesline throughout the entire thing. You know exactly where you are. You know exactly what's happening. You're good. You know. You're never confused. You're never lost. You're never like I say, they don't interrupt things with this. They bring you back there for a very specific reason. Like, you just asked a question, here's your answer. It's so well done. Like, the thing, like, it's so well done that even though I think there was a few other things that were kind of neat, they're basically overshadowed because the rest of it was so well done. And then the characters specifically themselves, by the way, I really liked, like, the 3 main characters that I can think of. I really liked all 3 of them. The girl, she was an emotional girl, as she should be. She got very emotional at a few different times because she's talking about her father and what her father had done or might have done, or didn't do, etc. She's very emotional about her father, and it makes 100% perfect sense that she would be that emotional. However, because of the job she has, and because of the personality she has that flash of emotion. She'll like yell out something or whatever, but then she gets quiet and she's thinking, and she goes, but wait a minute. It's like, yes, girl, yes! She uses her brain throughout this entire thing. Even when she, like, has to take a moment to breathe and let those emotions come out. She then, okay, but now what do we actually logically do with this? How do we actually fix this? How do we actually think and use our brain? Hold on to those emotions, like, and that's so cool. I wish dramas would please do this more often, please. I know I'm at a certain age where I'm like, young people love these emotionally all over the place because their characters are only 17 years old. And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting really tired of them using like 33-year-olds to play 19-year-olds. Because then I'm watching the drama and it takes me like 3/4 of the way through or halfway through or whatever through it before you tell me that they're supposed to be 19. And I'm like, you expected me to just figure that out when you're using like a 33-year-old, a 37-year-old to play this like 19 or 20-year-old. And I'm supposed to just know that they're like hormonal teenagers. So no wonder they're all stupid with their hormones. But I'm getting really tired of that. It's so refreshing when they have people that are actually playing within 5 years-ish of their actual age. It's really nice. And then on top of that, where they're fully grown adults and they act like they're fully grown adults. Thank you! And like the main guy in this one, he's an undercover cop, right? That might be considered a spoiler, I don't know, because within the 6 minutes and 55 seconds, I don't remember how long it tells you that he's actually, how long it takes before it tells you that he's an undercover cop. I forget how long it takes. It takes a little while, I think. But, or, I don't know, it's within the first episode, I think. So either way, the point is, he's an undercover cop, and so often in these undercover cop ones, they kind of get a little bit too lucky a little too often. They're acting way too suspicious. Like, really, they should have got caught a long time ago. So even though there's a lot of undercover cop ones that I really like, that does get a little fatiguing, where, like, they're supposed to kill someone and somehow they wheedle out of it without getting caught. There's one point within this drama where he does wheedle out of something where somebody was supposed to be killed right in front of him, and he saves their life by going, wait a minute, that's too easy a kill for him. Let me go and bury him alive instead. And when he takes them out there, instead of burying him alive, he sets him free. But at the same time, it kind of worked there because of the relationship he had with the guy he was working for. Like, the guy even gets notified. Okay, here's a spoiler. I won't tell you at one point in the drama, but someone tells him that this guy is actually an undercover cop. And because of the relationship and everything they've been doing so far, and because of who he is and all the rest of this stuff, he just, he doesn't want to believe it. So he literally pushes that out of his head and doesn't ever really act on it until, see, it's slightly within that category, but at the same time, I'm sure undercover people do get away with some luck sometimes, because, how do you live in a world like this without doing stuff like murdering people? But, his character actually does, such an amazing job at fitting into that world somehow. He's just, some of them, even if they don't actually get away with not killing someone when they shouldn't have been able to get away with it, something about their attitude. It's kind of like when I watch the dramas where someone that's rich or someone that's it's actually the crown prince or something like that, but he's undercover where he's going along and he's nobody's supposed to know who he is. And yet or even worse, quite often, it's their freaking servants are so through the roof arrogant. They're supposed to be undercover. They're pretending that they're some poor person or something. And yet they're so arrogant. They're like, how dare you treat my lord this way? And the lord's like, oh, shh, we're supposed to be pretending not to be. It's you guys would have got caught so long ago. You were so flippin' arrogant. And it's these undercover cops, quite often, they're you are too blatantly an undercover cop. Yeah, even I can see right through you. Come on, you're not acting. But he fits in so well. It's so believable that he fits in almost too well. It's natural. He's at home doing this kind of thing. It's so well done. And then like there's the main like his master guy, like the one that put him undercover. Like I really like that guy too. So like I like the characters. They're good, strong, mature characters. They're natural at what they're doing. They do the job well. And like really, like I say, the whole point of starting this, like I wanted to specifically specify that difference. These guys did. I say how often I don't like it when they skip forward. But you know what? Like he is psychometric did the same thing. And this, when I say I don't like it when they skip forward, there's a certain way that you do it that is done right. He is psychometric. They showed one event in the past and then they skipped to the present. But like I mentioned in another video, he is psychometric skips twice. The first skip from when they're young here and then they skip to here, that is okay. That kind of skip works. Like I say in this one, there was one event here and then they skipped, even though it was an unspecified amount of time right here. You kind of get the feeling like it wasn't that long ago necessarily, but then it doesn't take too long before they do explain exactly how long ago that was and what happened and all the rest of that and why it happened. And it works because of what he's doing in the present, because of the kind of person he is right now. You get it. It's not like this weird thing that doesn't even match anymore, or like in Impossible Air where this is what they're doing and then they're over here and it's been 10 years and yet there's like, what have you even been through? I can't tell what you've been through, because people after 10 years, they've generally been through enough that even though they're kind of the same, you can tell that they grew up, that they're a little bit different now, that they're presenting to the world differently because of the experiences that have taught us different things and reshaped how we interact with the world. People don't change at their core, but at the same time, they kind of do change because of what's going on around them. They get more comfortable doing certain things, or they get guarded about other things because, like, you know, different things change us. Even smaller things change us, but generally in a time span of 10 years, something big generally has happened, especially when you go from being 19 or 18, like they were at the beginning of Impossible Air, to like, because it's been, it was 10, 12 years or something like that, 18, they were like 30 something. From the age of 18 to 30 something, you have changed a lot, okay? You grew up a lot. You, like, if you looked at me when I was the age 18 and look at me now, I'm like, at the core of who I am, I'm the same person. But at the same time, the way I present to the world is very, very different because of different things that I've been through. It's very, very different because, like, even your hormones and the way your body is, you change. The way you present yourself, you change. So Impossible Air, they skip 10 years, and you cannot tell that they've changed. It's like they've been through nothing. And yet in this one, that event, I think, only happened like 3 years ago, but because of what he's been through, you can tell he's different now. He's the same, and yet you can tell that he's been through something. You can tell that he's different, even though he's the same. And like all of the other characters too, because of what they've been through, which is another cool thing, by the way, about the girl. So often, like, she's annoyed at him because he didn't tell her. She finds out that he's actually been undercover this whole time, and she's annoyed at him that he didn't tell her. But at the same time, and more specifically, she's annoyed that he did have contact with this other person and not her. And she's like, so why were you in contact with her but you wouldn't be with me? Like, what is this? But because of her maturity level and because she's a policewoman and she knows, it's something that drives me insane, okay? In CSI and in all of those other kinds of like dramas where they're detectives or they're CSI agents or whatever, I understand when you're a kind of honest person that would never ever do that. It really bothers you when someone suspects that you might have done something because, like, I'm like that, right? I would never do this. And yet, for some reason, people question me and think and act like they believe I might have. And I'm like, how could you do that to me? But at the same time, because of the profession they're in, it drives me insane when they're like, they literally flip out and like yell and scream and holler and they're so mad and won't talk to their coworkers and all this stuff because how dare you suspect me? When it's like, dude, you know how this job works. You know what they're supposed to do as professionals. And like, or when they're like, you were undercover and you didn't tell me that you were on this secret mission or whatever. How could you? I'm your coworker. Why don't you trust me? Dude, you know what kind of job you're doing. You know no matter how much they trust you, they cannot tell you this. There is a professional secrecy that they have to be sworn to. It's got nothing to do with how much they trust you or like you or whatever. They're not allowed to tell you. There's a reason for it. You know how this job works. It drives me nuts when they do that. But in this one, it's like there was a little bit of a jab there. But at the same time, because she's a policewoman, she knows why he didn't tell her. And there's a little bit of like when she meets him and stuff, it's like, are you actually like part of the gang or is something else going on here? And then she finds out, yeah, something else is going on here. It's like, this isn't really who he is. It doesn't, okay, that makes sense. And it's like, I like the way they did that, where she has this amount of trust for him because she knows who he is and what he's like. Because of what he said the last time he saw her. Now she's like all mad and she keeps like spurring the vehicle and he keeps getting walked up against the door. That was funny. Like I say, she gets emotional and she lets that emotion show, so you know perfectly well that she's a woman, that she's a human being, that she has these emotions and that they come out sometimes because that's what we're like. And yet there's a little bit of it. And she's like, but okay, there's a professional line here and I'm not going to cross that. Yes! So well done. And as typical, it did end up being longer than I expected it to be, but I think that's basically everything. Tell No One was an excellently done drama. It was really well done, especially in light of, you know, what Impossible Air did wrong, this one did right, and where a lot of other dramas did wrong, this one does right. It was really well done, and y'all should go and watch it. And tell me what you think of it. If you've seen it, let me know. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and tell me what you think of it. Thanks for watching. Bye.